Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a new episode of Nile Cruise from Nile TV, and I'm Salma Al-Fi'i joining you today. Of course, the death of the 17 martyrs from the Egyptian armed forces, their families mourning, and actually all of Egypt mourning, a tragic day Wednesday. It was not an encounter, but basically we could say a limited war that was basically the establishment of the Egyptian authority over part of its land when a group of militants, extremists, we can call them, tried to take over Sheikh Zayed. The death toll was 100 after a fierce battle with the Egyptian armed forces who laid claim over the city and the militia's bodies. And of course, Wednesday's incident was also coupled, unfortunately and sadly to say, with another tragic incident just a day before, which was the murder of the Attorney General Hisham Barakat. And it was a heinous crime where hundreds of kilograms of C4 explosives actually were used to blow up his convoy. And the reaction of the Egyptian people and their president was swift and leading to an even more firmer commitment to uproot terrorism. But what is also worth mentioning is that terrorism is striking with more sophistication, and that is something raising the eyebrows of everyone and wondering where was the source and the access of all of this to the terrorists? Where are they getting all of that access and source from? Consequently, this was coupled with a fierce determination by the Egyptian people and the armed forces to uproot terrorism from the country. And this is a very special edition, and we have, of course, our political analyst who will be joining us, talking about war on terrorism on June the 30th. And we have a professor from Al-Azhar, how to face extremism and Ramadan, a month of peace. And we have an initiative, Egypt in the Eyes of the World, about cultural tourism. So don't go anywhere, and we are now with a report about the weekly events by Emin Salah. Let's go and see it.
Troops continue to chase terrorists in Sinai after destroying two of their main centers completely. The general leadership of the armed forces announced in a statement that the terrorists had attacked army checkpoints in northern Sinai earlier in the day, and the Air Force responded by carrying strikes against their positions. At least 100 terrorists were killed during the military chase, and 17 of the armed forces fell martyrs. 70 terrorists had earlier attacked simultaneously 5 army checkpoints in the north of Sinai, and the forces engaged immediately with the terrorists and destroyed 3 vehicles carrying anti-aircraft missiles. The cabinet headed by Prime Minister Ibrahim Mahlab approved a number of draft laws on Wednesday pertaining to terrorism and parliamentary elections. This came during the cabinet's weekly meeting that tackled the security situation in the country in the wake of the assassination of State Prosecutor Councillor Hisham Barakat, as well as the situation in northern Sinai. At the beginning of the meeting, the cabinet observed a minute of silence to mourn the death of the state prosecutor. According to the Prime Minister, the approved laws will be submitted to the President for ratification. Egypt's state prosecutor has died hours after a powerful bomb hit his convoy in Cairo on Monday, following terrorist calls for attacks on the judiciary. The bomb destroyed several cars and blew out storefront windows in the upscale district of Heliopolis. At least 5 vehicles were completely gutted in the explosion. Witnesses at the scene of the blast said one of the charred vehicles had belonged to the prosecutor. Meanwhile, new security restrictions took place on Monday after the death of the general prosecutor. Shortly after the attack, Minister of Interior Magdi Abdel Ghaffar visited the scene and ordered security forces to be on their highest alert. In Cairo, the state of security emergency reached the highest level in many places, especially around Cairo airport, to secure all gates besides streets and neighborhoods in the surrounding area. Major Commander Tariq Fathi, the head of Cairo's airport security department, checked all security procedures, making sure they will secure passengers and buildings around the airport. During June 2015, Egypt stock market indices lost £10.6 billion. The main EGX 30 lost 4.68%, reaching 8,372 points. Small and medium EGX 70 lost 5.33% to reach 445 points, while the more expanded EGX 100 retreated 4.46% to reach 942 points.